Okay, let me know how the audio is. Hello, everyone. I was going to do a patron live, and I don't know, it took too long or wasn't planned properly, and so on, all the usual. So I just went unrestricted, and I'll do my best. Thank you for showing up once again. Hello, everybody. Hello, she said it. Funny. Mojo Brown, Vat City, The Alchemist, Justine, Cruikshank, Jackie Stenner, 859, Hi Kentucky, Free Press, Greg Kester, Natalie, Feng Shui Susan, Hi Iowa, Michael 777, thank you 859. Audio's up just a little bit. Let's see how that works. More memories. Well, that's the hard part, I suppose. Seeing how it depends on how it depends on everything and what you're looking for in terms of memories. Everybody has memories hidden down. Everybody has trauma. Whoever anyone is, if they look into their mind through dreaming, certain like psych observation tactics or psychological analysis and so on, you will uncover things you didn't know. The mind consciousness works that way. It's not so much that it's some secret that everybody's been through or something you've been through, partially because of too much information and no real viable way of using it all at the same time. In such a case, the information that is semi-relevant literally gets put to the back and then eventually kind of encapsulated in a kind of symbolic, archaic representation just because. And you can still access it, but you're not going to be able to generate enough power in the moment to go back to, 40 years ago or whatever, in the exact moment, how you went to the bathroom that morning. It's not recorded that way. And so something similar happens for a defense mechanism with the mind, where something that's too much, not because it's no use, or in a way there's no use, but you could also say it's too useful, certain events, if you uncover certain truths of this reality, whether it's biological, emotional, familial, social, judiciary, or financial, and it shocks you in a way and forces you to change your recognition of yourself, your own capacity in the world. If it's too much, they can't change. They just stop, and they try to go back to the way they were, or they go on into that new world in a kind of like with a limp, a psychological limp. And so then that has to be uncovered. One has to go back and not necessarily relive and go through it over and over again. There was something there that's being missed, that's not being used to then reconstruct someone's view of the world or adjust that. And so you have to go through until you find that one thing, and whatever that is will be related to things you have to understand about yourself, and ultimately, and I'm kind of breaking it down literally in like a schematic format here, ultimately you will uncover memories related to those things you didn't understand about yourself, about why your personality is the way it is, maybe shortcomings, desires, even forgetfulness, or inability to control certain emotions and things like that. And so you'll always see the symptoms, and then going back and getting the memories, and then you have to uncover trauma. You have to observe your behavior to see where your kind of scheduled programming is for what you're not willing to do, but you unconsciously aren't aware that that's controlling you, or those fears, your routine and your life routine. And then from where you are now, and from or to where all of that uncovers, you have to build a kind of platform to get there, kind of like stepping stones. You can't just, now I'm free, I'm out of the frying pan. It's too heavy out there, at first at least. And so then it has to be done slowly. And kind of vague ramble, but what we're going through now and what's gone on in the world is pretty much a chance for everyone to do that. It's as if you can't be in this world and you can't be in this situation without having gone through some type of traumatic programming, whether it's subjective or unique or not. It's not unique because it's all related to the same thing. We're all going through a similar form of different versions of traumatizing or traumatic programming, which is just to say there's a bunch of I don't know, beavers in a dam. There's not enough room, and everybody's fighting over what the right thing to be or do is. And it's kind of like it's forcing us to change our views of reality and ourselves. And for a lot of people, if not most, where that changes to is so far out of from where we are that somebody has to throw a rope. You can't walk there, let alone, you have to have like a commando team take you across the way because it's like we're in a chasm of two societies of where we're supposed to be and where we're going and where we're coming from for whatever reason. And so we're given a chance in this situation, to get kicked in the face? Well, no, to learn how to overcome all these things that have been holding us back. Ultimately, sooner or later, it probably will go away, and there simply won't be a capacity to say, hey, you over there, yeah, look at my money and my, cool suit. Go do this, do that, punch that person in the face. It won't work. They'll look at you like, let alone crazy, just stupid, like you're stupid. And it'll be a whole planet of people that you can't tell to go do stuff for no reason. When that happens, there'll be no way to get it back. So, whatever we're learning here, we're learning for the first time and forever in that sense. So make use of it, and in that sense, we're given a good opportunity to make use of a lot of good darkness and trauma and so on, simply because it's here. Not because it's a good idea to go invent it so we can get over it, but it's already here. That's what I was saying in the post. You're already in suffering. Why not make use of it to wake yourself up, through mental liberation and so on, or to assist in the mental liberation? Somebody wanted to say, there's no suffering, it's imaginary. Okay, thank you. I hate how the chat moves it down. Okay, I need to make it stop uploading or something. And there it goes. Crazy. I'm like fighting the chat to find the Vat City. Well, let's just say how things are how they should be, and so sorry. Okay, going. Yeah, trauma goes back. I think it might have been 6 generations or something, 7 generations, I think. But that's the limit. That after that many generations, the test subjects, the animals, whatever, do not show the same aversion to those same triggers. And so it's a big deal. 7 generations down the line, there's some type of memory being transferred genetically to stay away from that thing because it's weird, which tells us a lot. On a side note, what if we had instantaneous recall? I can't remember the term, but reptiles, certain birds, and so on, how they transfer genetic memory as soon as they give an offspring, it has all their memories and all their knowledge. What if people had that? It was really beneath the ice sheet covering Greenland. That I do not know. I know there is extremely deep embedded corruption there, and I know something is, I believe, underneath in terms of a base, but there was nearby an Air Force base, I think it was Thule or something, and that had some stuff going on, which was, I believe, the main thing. It had a system active there that could have influenced the entire region, if not the entire society or plane or whatever you want to call it. And so it was kind of, from my vague recollection, and if if I spend a half hour and go into my mind, I'll be able to get like the actual direct. But it's hinting at that. It wasn't too serious, and then it's like political, apparently in the nation one, and then I'm not sure about the land. I can't remember. I think there's something underneath. I think there's something about the area, but I can't quite remember. And if I go through, and I'll realize this is what was one thing, and then this is the other thing. But this years of memories and so on, and I'll get it eventually. It's important. As far as astral travel, don't do it. Focus on yourself. Certain methods of inducing transtemporal activation of your energy bodies will induce an entropic effect on your physical body, meaning it takes energy, it draws energy up. And so other than that, I don't know how to describe it. I'm getting better at describing it. It's like I don't know, a light show neon field, like at a rave, turned into this kind of labyrinth in the sky, and your mind Your body walks through the labyrinth, you skydive, you fall right through it. But your mind going out, well, it's in that field like it's Pac-Man, like it's in the maze. And so the astral, if you want to call that, has been, our collective mind has been implanted with loads of restrictive systems, programs, implants like frequencies. When you get up to that frequency, it activates and locks you in. And so there's been a bunch of that. And so the whole, guideline, if you will, in that or regarding that was to not do it and not have anything to do with it, because the military is currently more or less clearing it out. And it is because it was the astral, as far as what we think, is supposed to be a natural, mind-made, constructed, virtual reality for sentient organisms. And they mixed it with tech to create that labyrinth system where you can customizably edit the mind field dream reality of the human collective and turned it into a processing system for souls or extraction system. Excuse me. I'm sure that was great audio in there. Sorry. No, it's decaf. I should have muted. I need to get the hotkey set up. Yeah, and so then the other thing about, astral travel over here, is that when you're not astral, okay, in this everything but astral, in the dreamscape, like Free Spirit said, everything is in there. The key to why things have not gone the way you want them to be. Or excuse me. What you feel you really are, who you really are, the decisions you made that you don't agree with, the decisions people made against you, everything you feel and why, how those feelings collect and coalesce into these huge algorithmic thought matrices of reality, basically, of consciousness, of where you can go in your mind and where you don't want to, and why, and how that interfaces interacts in reality. We can do this while we're awake, but you would rather be like in a place where everybody's blindfolded and fed a sedative and somebody's guiding them through meditation. It's almost impossible. You go to sleep, you allow your subconscious to meet. Like, okay, I'm here, then now I'm in my self world, and then, well, there's a larger intelligence here of me, and you two commune and meet. Once that begins like an open channel, nothing can stop you from understanding what you need to. It has the mind of like a quantum galaxy-sized supercomputer. So anything you need to know, you already know. It's just about formatting that in a specific, unique, particular, kind of divergent, limited human language. Series of symbols and streams into a kind of collective, organized block or blockchain of information that can allow us to communicate it to others. In other words, we develop language based upon what we need to do here, and the larger aspect of ourselves it develops the language that was always in existence for what it needs to do as it's always in existence. So what we do here has to step up and ramp up before we can even understand and comprehend how to communicate with what we really are. And the dreamscape, or what do you want to call that, is the fastest and most direct. It's how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to go wake up in class and we all fall asleep on our desk and go study. You're supposed to do it in yourself. That's the point. And then imagine if we did that and then went to class and did certain things like, okay, let's talk about it. Okay, what did you experience and what problems did you experience in your mind and so on? We'd be high-level creators by now, obviously. And we are. The secret. The highest level. But we just create stuff that comes back and smacks us in our face. And then we get mad and spit on the ground and throw our hat and curse. But we're creators. We're gods. Dogs and animals can't do that. It's just one way or another, good or bad, whatever way it is, it's the way it is. We do it. We make it one way or another, good or bad, but we're still doing it. Once we figure out how to make it what we want, then we'll be. But it doesn't change the fact that we're still doing it and we're still controlling it. GMB web media for you. Good question. I believe so. Nothing was explained properly. What happened to the Hollywood clone fighting parties? I'm not going to speak about it in that reference like it is actually a clone fighting party. Nothing was explained properly. I can't even speak right now. Nothing was explained properly. Oh my gosh, properly. It's a system designed out of necessity, remnants of an old war AI that our species went through and fought through, and bugs in the window. And it would have to be explained in a way that could be understood, but the things that you would have to understand in order to go, oh, so that's terrible, but that had to happen, so this could make sense. 7 different things that would each take a year to understand. Um, it's the easiest way to put it is a genetic sorting process. And then again, bad things, people took over and used it for whatever they wanted. That's no excuse. That's that. They took over the backbone of a system that was already existing, or had the beginning of it already there, and it was a transdimensional system. It could do anything. It's a computer that can alter reality. So it's like, well, it does anything. You mean you can write word anywhere? Like, you could do anything. You could turn reality into an internet. And imagine it's alive and it can see your mind and use that too. Well, you could make dreams. You could do that. You could do anything. And so that happened, and so it went everywhere. It's an old system designed to maintain and advance sentient species. And so as well, within what happened within that, it'll be released, and people will understand as it comes. Everything that happened had to happen, and it was the best possible outcome of any potential anywhere, period. From there, it's just a schedule of staying with what's happening mentally, even physically and emotionally, more so mentally and emotionally. Literally, it's an internet, it's digital, and more or less mentally staying on the same page, because that's what it's going to come down to the point where it goes too far off track. Those who haven't been focusing on what's going on, this disclosure, this process, what's going to happen then later, they're not going to have any understanding, and it's going to freak them out, and it's going to be just like the things that caused the trauma in the first place. And so they're trying to stop that from happening again. They're trying to stop that from recycling, which again, you can have a big button, boom, and oh, now we're in the Dark Ages, or you could have released this, and this is what's happened, and now everybody's back in the Dark Ages because they released information that they cannot handle. And so mentally, we have to be, it's not a bomb, it's a truth bomb that we have to be able to handle, and that's what's going on. And then more and more can be said on that. GMB, I can't talk today, web media for you, way more complex than we can comprehend, let alone, oh, it's like a scientific computer AI or mini system, and it just doesn't feel what we feel, and it's not going to care about us. The first day, that's what we discovered. 10,000 years later, what it did, what it got to, and what happened, it's part of our saga as humans, of our struggle rising up out of lower consciousness, lower awareness, that we're hitting these reset points, that something kind of designed this place to hold us down. But in the same sense, what we are aware of that system, because we got it, we figured it out. If that system was totally in control, we would never know anything. We'd just be looking at butterflies flying by, and that would be it. Unless somebody did some experiments and opened up the mind and broke the dimensional membrane and so on. But and so then, you mean it's a good thing that we know these things? Well, yes. But what about the things that are happening? Well, yes, that too. Because the other would be that happening, and there is no outcome from that. It's just that until there's nothing left. And so it looks crazy, but it is the result that we kind of shimmied in there, if you will. And it can't change, because that's worse than literally that. But then we're in control of that. So it's, had to be taken control of. Otherwise, we'd just be there with no memories, no minds, and yeah. Anyway, well, the alternatives will all be explained. The bases, I don't support everybody, but the bases, some of these interviews are literally telling you what went on, what happened to the other realities, the times that exist that were kind of like these potentials and experimental timelines, if you will, bridges, and the stuff that went wrong or took over and so on. That's going to come out through those people and so on. It's not necessarily absolutely, but when you need that motivation, it's like, yeah, we saw it, and it's that. Once you see something like that, you never stop. If you saw something like the Black Mirror dog would get annihilated by some of the stuff we've seen. It would literally just like turn into shreds. There's no chance. It would just turn to liquid red hot metal. And so seeing that, and then that we came over, we overcame that. We came back from that. Well, you're never going to stop, because no one's going to stop you. But then seeing that from the world where you think it's like this, it kind of, it cracks your glasses, if you will. So, Mojo Brown, would you das it is counterproductive to fight Morgellons nanobites? Only, not really, but expending more energy than drinking peppermint tea, organic eating if you can, fasting, sunlight, activating yourself with sunlight, purifying your body with clean water, getting your muscles big and swollen so that they pump out lactic acid and it kills off some of the toxins, the candida and so on, and fight that through your fight of being submissive to toxicity and dark-mindedness. And as well, where electrical systems, your intent is the ringing of the bell. Whatever you hold when you intend something, when you ring the bell, that's what everything else in the universe feels. So apparently, with the highest intent, it cancels out some of these like Autobot technologies that you'd have to want to be like an animal and fight others and be in this angry, shitty vibe of always eating the bullshit that comes out of the TV and vomiting it back up on others in society. Those bots are your best friends. If you don't like that, they probably don't like you either, and they're just gonna go find some other host. Or at least they won't be active and dominant over your brainstem. Can we use mugwort? I don't believe I've used it too much, but I believe I have in the past. That's not the one with St. John's wort, which is supposed to be good for depression. I'm not sure. I've always read about and heard about mugwort. I haven't used it too much in the past. I remember like 1 or 2 times. I use a bunch of other stuff, and so if you know what that is supposed to be good for is useful and you find it helpful for yourself, go ahead and use it as long as there are no side effects, and if you have any contradictions or complications, see your doctor, especially if you have already existing conditions. Yeah, something happened with the past couple of years and the celestial things in the sky. Memories were unlocked. Firewalls have been dropped down to levels where your mind can access it, but the systems that basically destroy one's mind upon accessing it, unless you have the certain code being drenched in blood, those have either been tangled up or disabled, dismantled, silenced, neutralized, mitigated, or something, and memories are coming back. Their intelligence is increasing, information is connecting across the grid, across the map, when normally something should break that. It shouldn't work that way. You shouldn't be able to send this message over there, and they're like, yeah, all this weird stuff going on, I get it, and now people are talking about stuff going on, and these people are talking about, if something usually breaks it, that, whatever that is kind of shutting down or something. Free Press 666 says Whorehound is better, and I've also heard that Whorehound is very good. Used it once or twice too. Vat City, just think of Mr. Nobody. Enough said. Alright, okay. Nah, my chat's frozen. Hopefully I'm not frozen. I've got some free time as the chat reloads up. Now it's reloaded. Darn. No more free time. Shit. The paperclip thing from Windows. How would you like to rape yourself? Do you need help from traumatizing yourself and ruining yourself? I'm sorry. I'm trying to find myself in the chat. It reloaded and now there's... Alright, wall of text. Okay, let's see. GMB, it seems everything's being exposed. Everyone seems to be realizing that there is some type of genetic manipulation, mind control, or cloning operation being exposed or literally going like haywire, and they're just like unaware of what they're talking about or something, and they're like exposing themselves. They act in certain ways that can't be denied. Other than that, you know, I don't know. But it seems like when people down the street are just like, yeah, they look like alien robots or something, they say the same stuff over and over again with that glossy look in their eyes. I mean, The Secret, when did they say that 10 years ago? There were robots then too? Everybody seems to be waking up because some system seems to be kind of deactivating now. Excuse me. Muted at that time. $859, the most frightening chimera that has been created, or chimera? That's just a funny question. But let's just say the problem with genetic manipulation is when you can create something that is exactly like what you replicated, but it's not it. Okay, well now we have problems. In my mind, that's the most dangerous. You can have something that swings and claws and rips something open, but we have something sitting next to you and no one knows who the difference is. That's the problem. That's the issue. And then what is the difference? What happens with the soul? What happens with could you change one neuron in that brain and it's like fine, but then if you pump up code or something, it goes into like psycho mode. What are we really doing here? That's what we need to understand. Although we can bomb other stuff, Even if it turns into something else, you can bomb it again. Not really, I'm playing. But the stuff that you can't even determine whether it's one way or another, that's where we're threading the line. We're literally, or see the needle walking, and like that's like, what if countries begin doing that to one another? Maybe that's already happened. Um, we would have no recourse, and so that's why we need to get on the same page with that. Of course, we would have no recourse if a bunch of like ant monsters or something were released, not ant. Um, but in a sense, we would, because I hate to say it, that's like what we've been doing anyway. Except it wasn't monsters; it was people. We would blow the people up. Be like, hey, we're safe now from ourselves because we blow ourselves up. That doesn't make sense. Um, but if when it's us infiltrating ourselves and we can't tell who's not us, I keep saying it, but that's the scary part. Trauma secretion is a tool. The hormonal interactions, the neuronal signatures, the connectome signatures, you can't recreate it as accurately as somebody actually crapping themselves. And so for these systems, it is a kind of an editing tool for society. Cosmic Gypsy, what to tell when others believe in Nibiru bullshit. Still can't talk. I'm not sure. Just for me, it's like, okay, I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I've seen some stuff, but I don't know if something happens always, regardless. Something always happens, even if nothing happens. It's the fact that we're gonna do it ourselves when we're bored because nothing happens. That's gonna be worse than whatever could happen. And so, I don't the dates, and so then believe in the pole shift and Nibiru. Okay, well, let's talk about the celestial bodies. Let's talk about atmospheric changes. Let's talk about the previous civilizations. Let's talk about the electrostatic universe, or excuse me, dielectric universe and the electrogravitic universe and all that, and as well electrostatic, and how these things work, why that would happen in the past, and what's going to happen right now. What's happening? How the system works. Some things are fanatical. Everything is. Everything is a trend. It's a fad. Have fun with that. And then when you're done, research what has to exist in order for people to talk about all these different kind of like group topics, if you will, or like anchor subjects. Look back to see what else is there. For instance, Nibiru and all that. Well, because right, there's ancient civilizations. Well, let's look at the ancient civilizations to see what they knew, and you have to piece it together on your own. It's never going to happen any other way. Because even when it does, they make sure to do it in a circle, so you never know which one's a real one. And the universe is a circle, so whichever one you lean towards, well, that's the reality that is. And until then, nothing is actually. It's in a circle, literally, meaning they're all there equally. But so it's more about kind of expanding their mind to what's possible, and as well simply increasing their intelligence and their informational, acquisition of what's going on. Because once you see enough, you realize, the Teslian tech, the radionics, the consciousness, holographic nature of consciousness, and the fractal nature of space and time. It's all here. This is the disclosure that you're in a body doing these things, and you can look and see, and you can figure it out. That's it. That's the apocalypse, the unveiling. Nothing has to happen. Nothing else. If anything else has to happen, it's a trick. It's a show. And so, or at least like no big like things. There's like, this is the event. Now this happened. It never ends. So if anything could be the end of it, then that's the illusion. And as well, your understanding or your belief in your concluding and your completion of what you're supposed to be doing on this eternal journey is the illusion, because it doesn't stop like that. It just keeps going. We do hit these like fold checkpoints where now everything that I've been learning comes into this consolidated understanding, but that doesn't mean that that's that. It keeps going. It bubbles up again. It's like, I gotta go. You gotta go again, again. So you have this huge fractal, array of information that never changes because it's solidified, but it also varies because it's in a just kind of like a effortless stream of universes or realities. Kyle Hinkle, that is a shadow operative. Could have been a humanoid form sitting in a chair with a projection system and a suit on that plugs him into his mind and shoots him out, and he looks like a dark shadow, and they can go around and terrorize people. That was what we discovered in the projects. That was what I was briefed on, and apparently that's what they were doing for the longest time. Side note, you alter it a little bit, you get a strobe effect. You time it just right, and the wavelength of their coming in and out of this dimension goes sideways, and that's apparently an alternate dimension where people pass through in out of body states, near death experiences, or when they leave their body for a transition out of the physical. So they found all that. Weird. Yeah, trying to make stuff go invisible, you find poltergeist. Not really poltergeist, you know what I mean? That's a joke. Um, what is the DMT realm? I'm not sure. I do know there is a underworld, and I do know, and I don't have personal experience outside of the bases. There's an underworld, or controlled medical research experiments and so on. And we're connected to it, and there's a spiritual world, and somehow there's some type of tech interface, and there's stuff inside of there, and there's a hyperspace, and then I know there's a real one, and I know there's some type of artificial overlay, but with this kind of a question like that, I don't know, but I know something's going on, and there's a real hyperspatial world, or something goes on, and there's this false psychological awakening or lucid experience that we create for ourselves, possibly out of fear, or possibly because some archaic parasitic consciousness system is in this place, and it's localized only to this place, and it wants us to stay here, and it knows that the only way to keep us into staying here is to make us kind of dumb and afraid of ourselves and our true potential. And so that's why I also would say don't experiment too many things unless you have medical personnel around or extremely experienced people, but even then it's not going to do anything because you need a bunch of scientists, you need to be hooked up in a lab, and it has to be IV. That's not going to happen unless the world changes. Or you just begin to dream and you'll get the same thing, kind of, if you're awake. And so, with that, it's so, various that I can't really say anything or give anything definite other than that it could be everything people say. Something cool, but more so it seems it's a very advanced system, something, going on, very advanced beings, and that we don't really understand what is going on there, but that is pertaining to states of consciousness that we could interact with, and planes we could interact with, possibly in another way, possibly with advanced technology, possibly with 1,000 years of meditation or practice or something, advancement, but that it might not be the same as that one or that place. It kind of doesn't make any sense, but basically it's relative, but it could be irrelevant, in that we're just in a large multiverse, and in a way that sits above us, and we have to kind of get through that as a kind of cache of hyperspatial time-space experiences, if you will, in order to get to the true present, because we've been frozen in time, and in that whole moment we actually went to the future, and so now we're going to leapfrog through that. And when you go through so many years at hyperspace, like you have the VCR on fast forward, it turns into those types of experiences, or those types of experiences get mixed in, like you're taking up the tapes of the VCR, and there's like 7 of them overlaid, and you kind of turn them into a tie-dye fractal because they're made out of electromagnetic energy, so you mix them up if they get compressed. Doesn't make sense, kind of weird, extremely strange metaphoric analogies, but the point is that it's not like, I don't know, nothing is what people claim or say it is. And when people talk about that, I get the feeling that an ant noticed it was in a garden. So dreamscape, place to clear out past trauma, merge timelines, write dreams down, and review later. They review loads. Exactly, free spirit. And then as well, Patrick, that's kind of what we found out in the bases. That it's basically an ant figuring out us in the garden. When you see that, I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's kind of discouraging. But it's not. It's just that what people say, the lackadaisical, hippie-trippy view of reality, it's that if you don't care. And it's like, okay, screw it. It's like a sausage party. All right, screw it. Let's have a sausage party. Not like an actual one. Do the movie. Well, no one would do that. Well, there's a lot of people actually doing that now, and they're crazy, and they're like, screw it, let's just, whatever, it's going to happen, it's going to be worse than what is now, but that's better. Alright, whatever. And if that happens in the hyperspatial, you turn into a monster. Your reality melts and turns into a hell reality, archaic, it goes, alright, 9 times the dimensional shift into what you don't want now to experience, because you're at war with yourself. And so there's a lot of people doing that now. But normally, naturally, that wouldn't happen. And so on. It would just be natural, not discouraging. And what I'm saying, if I distracted people, finding out the truth wouldn't make people go, oh yeah, let's just love it because it's nice and it's not discouraging. and then it doesn't make sense. It's crappy because we're in a situation that takes a lot of work to even comprehend what's going on because we've been lied to. But in doing that, we're freeing ourselves, so it feels better. It's the worst thing ever, and it's the best thing ever. That's the whole point. I said that in one of the first interviews. It's the best thing that could ever happen to you, and it's the worst that will ever happen to you. Knowing the truth. And so it's not. It shouldn't have to be discouraging. But for the most people that are in seeing reality this way and have grown up this way and so on, it will be, and that's the point. Could be GMW. That's what I've heard some things. Earth is PlayNet. Manifest your dreams, not your nightmares. I agree. Free spirit. Harriet Boateng. What do you think of narcissists? Are they organic portals? Without going too deeply, you have a sunflower. When it stops glowing because it can't receive the light, it becomes kind of like it's still there, but it doesn't have that substance to it that gives it the power that makes it separate energetically from that which isn't, which is just inert. When people get like that, the lowest of emotions push them, and it's like being somebody has sandpaper pushing you to go down a hallway. No, keep going, keep walking. Every time you stop, they push harder with the sandpaper, and it's pushing them to either lash out, project, or get out their desires, or whatever it is. There's something there. When one doesn't have the power to resist temptations, physical, mental, certain other things, emotionally they won't be able to. And when that happens emotionally, those things will be like drilling into their mind to get an outcome. And when that happens, it's basically like torture, but it will be the non-existing will of a shadow projection of misaligned aspects of the personality that create a blind spot that is parts of their behavior that they're not in control, which then overpowers their ability to control themselves. It's a form of insanity, if you will. Maybe that's basically the way to put it, that organic portal. Sorry if I'm sweating, the heat's on because the dryer's messed up. I hope nobody can see. Yeah, it's summer and the heat's on. That it's what we call an organic portal is simply a psychopath. It's somebody who's simply so dropped down in emotion that they could do these things. Now, does that mean we're in this place and there are these intelligences everywhere and possibly these discarnate spirits and so on, and that they have greater and easier access to these types of people? It could. I'm not going to say that for sure. What if there were no beings? Then we'd have to just, it was myself. It wasn't this spirit that I did it. We'd have to take the responsibility for ourselves, our self accountability. But then if there are, well, it's a different playing field, and I kind of feel there's something to do with that. That people are not in control when certain things like that happen, and they have to take control. But if they don't, they can't. You can't stop it. It has an access code, and boop boop, it can do whatever it wants. You have to first reject it and take control back from the wayward emotions. Otherwise, you could set up whatever you want, just and it's going to take you over, and make you start a fight with somebody or steal the thing or whatever it is that you don't want to do, or so on. And it's the emotional interface at that point. And so when people don't have that stability, and you could say not having that stability can be like a virus, where now it's like one meme after the next pushes them over the limit, where memes is just mimetic information, the things they talk about and the concepts they hear throughout the day and the things they don't want to hear about. Well, when it pushes them and they don't have the stability, now they're being controlled by these trigger points, and it's like a robotoid that's being manufactured through these remote access entrainments to influence people and manage the population. So things we can think about. Earth is a roulette wheel. Either that or I'm not going to say the other one. How would one know if they are cloned? Angie Marai. There's supposed to be a certain amount of indicators: eyes, memories, psych, the way the personality changes. These are things people aren't really going to know unless they've been involved and they know to look for the indicators, or they're like a scientist or something, or they're not necessarily going to know from their own perspective unless there were large differences or disrupted in their life. And usually, I'm not going to go too deep into this, if somebody is going through something like that, they'll I don't want to say something too bad, but you'll get a missed shipment, and then they'll come deliver it, and it'll smash all over the yard. Have this big event. In that event, they'll go to sleep real late or something. They'll wake up later, and that's where somebody will be switched out. And so psychologically, no one will expect, because it'll just be like, oh, they've been swamped this week. They're so tired. They got like a 5 o'clock beer. It's 4 in the morning. Doesn't make any sense, but it throws the mind off. Those types of things are designed to stop one from seeing it. They work well. If earlier on, you can imagine it was a lot rougher. You couldn't not know. You literally could not know. And so now those things are being more refined. And so it's like kind of like saying, how can you know somebody's lying? You'd have to be around it enough. You'd have to know. You have to practice. And so as well, if you are knowing yourself, the soul is something that cannot be artificiated, at least to the whole world. It's an integrative, reflective, or referential beacon, if you will, in a referential system. And so it's like a blockchain. You can't add a dollar without rewriting the whole blockchain. You can't fake a soul without changing all the souls that were ever there. It's a perfectly secure system. And so if you were very, very adept at seeing from the level of the soul and noticing for those changes and so on, you just sat and did yoga in a field all day, you would probably instantly know the day you woke up different. In today's world, it's not going to be that easy, and so on. The more distracted, the more, brought away from ourselves we are, the later it's going to be that anyone even catches anything. And again, what does this mean if you don't know? If you can't catch it, what does this mean? Are you being mentally messed with to believe you can't catch it? Or do we really not know if something like that has gone on because of the way our biology works with our soul and our how the human exists and so on, and how the soul works? It's very, very deep. How would we know? Well, why is it so hard? Well, then what is the soul? That's where it goes into what we are and what's the soul and how this all works. And the science behind it is it's crazy. Once you know how easy it is, it's like Play-Doh. It's like Legos. You just put stuff in the right spot, give it the right the environment, and it works. It just works. That's what life is. That's what it does. And so it's designed so we can do a lot of stuff. Minds, bodies, capabilities, everything. And it's very customizable and so on. And so once we see how they went generation after generation of running these prototypes and figuring out genetic engineering and how it ties into altering genetics, altering time, altering biology, and changing the collective experience and the mind, all these things that are connected. And it's not a purely physical biological universe. It's informationally interactive and interconnected with itself on layers we cannot build a model for until we have all the information, because it's so complex and perfect. Every single atom can also double the job in its place while also being itself the job of every other atom simultaneously. It's way more complex than we think. Or more so photon. Yeah, 88 Timekeeper 88. Most of it is deepfake. That's what we were briefed on. Unfortunately, so you want to see how could you know if somebody's been deepfaked? At this point, you don't. You have to take this stuff, same thing with everything else. Turn it sideways, break down all the frames, look at the frequencies in the spectrograph, whatever it is, and see where it was edited and what's actually making the pixels change, and if there's mess ups and glitches. Eventually, you find out how to do that and show, found it. If it sees that, it's going to reroute itself to work that out and no longer be able to be caught. So it's like we know where it's going to go, and ultimately that everything could already have gone that way, and that's the conclusion you have to come to in order to stay up with what could have happened with reality, to stay up with reality and the true potentials. Okay, I'll go for a little bit more. Miss Lady Lovejoy, yo, Ugg, how you keep up in this trying times? How you keep up this trying time? How you keeping up? Wow, I can't talk. Gosh, I just did like the baby thing they do when they get mad. It's all the same for me. Just, I hate to say it, but I went through so much earlier on that all of this is not very stressful. I can't tell you to go do crazy stuff or get like in a crazy situation that doesn't make any sense, even though you're already in one now. But it's longer, and you have more time to make your decisions, your choices, and therefore you have more people going through them with you, so it should be easier. Really, it's all illusions. the other aspect is I wasn't really too big on society anyway. So when it was like, okay, you can't see people, you can't do this, it's like I don't do that anyway. When I was a little bit long ago, 2 months before I was, when I was healthier, I was working out more, and it's like that's all I did. I would work out, get food supplies, house supplies, started doing outdoor work once it got warm, and then focus on everything else. So it's weird. I mean, I'm a bit of a hermit anyway, and I've lived like that my whole life. But I don't really notice much. I actually prefer it this way. I used to wear gloves. I'm not gonna keep going. I used to wear gloves in the store anyway. Um, there's fecal matter on everything. Why would you not? Why would you just say, "Oh well"? Um, is it now like that? I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry, I missed that, Natalie. A few more here. Let's see. These are tough times. Yeah, it's a tough time for humanity. Like, for me, that's the thing. I knew a lot of things when I was young. I figured a lot of stuff out. Just did it. It was as dark. That was the darkest time. When I figured out that's what's going on, and everybody's just like, yeah, but what about this? Like, what do you mean? We're not going to exist if we don't do something about that. That was the darkest time. So, and now that it's uncovering, even though stuff's looking crazy, it's actually getting better in my mind. That's my point. It's weird. Absolutely the opposite of what you would expect. But it's weird. And as well, how are you keeping up? The same way before, I don't rely on that stuff to be happy in life. If I do, I get sad. So maybe that's the real lesson here. Don't get to the point where the only game left is Russian roulette. That's the room the sheeple are headed for. GMW, yeah. And they don't see it yet, and I don't think it will be permitted simply because they don't see it. There are enough people who are watching it go that'll be like, no, and throw the gun down or something, proverbially. But if we weren't here, they would do it. They would give it to them, and they'd be like, okay, I guess this is what we gotta do, everybody. This is what the news wants us to do. So that's the other aspect. But I guess if we weren't here and they weren't here, then nobody would be tricking them. So it's like it's all a big paradox in a way that it wouldn't be happening unless it is happening. Right. The psychopaths are unable to hold emotional bonds. Narcs can a little. They can fake it. They have enough of that to do it, yeah, holding it, and then they, out of breath, I had to pretend I had emotions there for a second, and it's like they can fake it like a chicken kind of flying over a fence or something. And then the psychopaths literally just stare at you when you try to connect with them with an emotional bond. They try to kill you. They instantly try to kill you. They're rich. They can do whatever they want. They invented judges so they get away with raping your kids. So, which pisses them off, it's worse than a mafia boss. It's literally like, but the point is, well, God, these bad guys, I'm saying it's a different organism. Their brains don't work the same. And if they have to change it because then they actually devolve. And so we're in this kind of like, it's a ticking time bomb, merry-go-round, made out of nets, and once it hits up to a certain speed, we all blow the fuck up. So we have to like hold on and slow this shit down together, otherwise it's just gonna, excuse me, language warning. And that's what's happening right now, and it's speeding up. Here we go, spooling up. But a lot of people are holding on. They're holding on strong as steel. Some of these people, they're like, I don't care. These evil people are here. Fine, we're here too, and we're not going anywhere. And it's crazy. So that's cool. Yeah, don't freak out. Unplug and ground in nature. Enjoy sunshine. Be happy. I thought I said eat sunshine because that's something I do. Well, everybody eats sunshine. That's the point. Joy is super fuel. Joy is super fuel. Cosmic Gypsy. But you cannot try to consciously attain it. It just has to be there. And you go, well, I could be unhappy if I do that. I could be happy, and you simply allow yourself to do the happy thing. Your life will be abundant with joy. You try and do a bunch of things that you know people do when they're happy because it makes them happy. You're just going to be sad and messed up. In other words, joy, one, joy and happiness are not necessarily the same thing. And two, joy and engaging your mind to enact in something to kind of bring about joy like a linear cause and effect action doesn't really happen. It's this overall accumulative essence that builds up in a life where you consistently choose what makes you happy, maybe. And so that is the solution in my mind. That is the antidote, and maybe the cure, but it's not really a disease. It's like a poison, if you will. It's a toxin that's not supposed to be there in the first place. And so then this depressive kind of chaos essence, and then you see the linear, interactive, definitive cause and effect response choice, this kind of like approach of solving the problem by arguing, by going out and doing things, by complaining and showing how bad it is and expressing it. That invented the hell. That invented the problem. That's the fuel for the problem. We don't have enough joy, so we continue to do the things that we think is required and kind of like the hard work to enable the capacity to receive more joy for everyone, and in reality it's burning up the last of the joy that's there. And again, there's no end. It just keeps going. Well, what happens then? Well, if there's no joy, well then the next thing that happens is going to be the worst thing ever or joy. And if it's the worst thing ever, eventually then joy. So it just resets, if you will, once we can't go any lower. And I think some have to get to that point where they realize, no, it's not we want to do this because we want to and we want more stuff. And it's like this. We have no choice. This is our people. This is our place. This is our time. We're never going to get a chance. You don't do it now, it's gone. Our life, what we came here for, what we're doing, our opportunities to control that in a way that's beneficial for us and our children and for everyone else is gone if we don't do anything now. Everyone else is going, yeah, but I want to do this, and yeah, you're not mad as me, I'm mad. They're dreaming. They're daydreaming, and they have no idea that the frying pan done exploded. We've been jumping around the stove as the house is on fire. So, we'll see. And again, joy is the answer. All that stuff does not cause joy. Now, for those who are out there happy because it's lawlessness, they think they're happy. It's not going to give them long-lasting happiness. It's not really joy. It's aggression that they're letting out, and they feel better because they don't have that dark, deep monkey on their back gnawing into their brainstem telling them to go mess stuff up because they feel like it happened to them. That doesn't make anybody happier overall. It's a drug, and it's a trick. It's like watching the news or something to get your high so you feel like you are safe because you know what's going on, when they just lied. Everything that you think you learned about the world is a lie that takes you further and further away from the world. So, don't get tricked. Joy is the cure, joy is the antidote. Thinking and doing, expecting is not. Because it's not going to do anything anyway. We're not in control. And they're not either. You think we're not in control and we're kind of normal. They can't even have breakfast without flipping the table and doing it. You think they're in control? They're the least in control that there ever were of any entity in the existence of the universe. Because you still have a choice to choose. They don't have a choice. Yeah, I known Matt. I saw him get taken down. His channel get taken down. He's always been cool to me and trying to help me out and stuff, and wonder about these things, and I'd be like, well, what are you taking that for? It's just like, well, you're saying that, and this is crazy stuff. We're trying to figure it all out. Seems reasonable. Good stuff. The Allen Corpse. Thank you. Okay. I will return soon or later. Man, there are a lot of questions. Yeah, cleanse the liver. I think I'm gonna go through that too. I appreciate you all. There are funny, crazy things happening. They're good things. I haven't talked a lot about what's gone on. Certain things to expect. This is what's supposed to be happening. So don't worry about it unless you want to. And if you do, please get it out of your system. Please go alone in a field and scream into a swamp or something and get back into cardio and this and the other. If you do those things, you will not be as stressed by the system. If you go to bed when it's dark, wear blue blockers, don't look at the bright LED lights first thing in the morning unless it's 4 in the morning, in which case use your red lights until you get down the road and the sun starts to come up. Or your red glasses, your blue blockers. Wear your blue blockers at night when you're driving in the car. The cars today are designed to literally fry your brain from a distance. Do what you can to avoid all this pollution, this BS, this mind pollution, this EMF pollution. Um, they're doing this now, I'll say as a conclusion, because this is a time where every single person, every single entity, there's no such thing as a person, there's one person and they're damned, um, is watching Earth, is aware of this time, is aware of what's happening now, because what's happening now is changing everything. So all that's going on now because you have the greatest opportunity, and you literally, in this opportunity, there might not be a limit of how far you can go, of what you can do. Humanity has had many opportunities, but in this one, I think the finish line is literally in view, and there is no finish line. But once we get as a people to that point, they can never do what they try to do again. They can never even get close. Not even, I don't want to say not think about it, but in certain situations I can't think about it. But I don't want to say that. Thank you all very much. Love and happiness, but it's not all butterflies.